Good morning. Welcome to Sunday morning. Happy to be here with y'all. Um, and welcome to Daylight Saving Time. Greetings to the people I can see on Zoom, and greetings to the folks who I cannot see on uh, Facebook and YouTube. Happy to have y'all. Today, we're going to talk about the four foundations of mindfulness. Um, Buddha taught that there are four areas to look at. Um, on the path to be relieved of suffering, essentially. And we're going to start an exploration of that this week with an overview, and then I'm going to do a deeper dive into that over the next few weeks. So, but for now, why don't we meditate? So, I invite you to find a comfortable meditation posture. A posture where you are alert and relaxed at the same time. If you're sitting, just let your body relax into whatever you're sitting on. Your spine straight, not like rigid straight, tightening the muscles, but just straight in its natural curve. And tucking in your chin just a little bit. And assuming a posture is reflective of the first of the four foundations of mindfulness, which is mindfulness of the body. We begin our meditation by coming into our body, by paying attention to how we're sitting or standing or laying down. For those of you who may be meditating laying down, I suggest you keep your arm at a 90-degree angle with your hand above you and your arm on the floor. That way, if you fall asleep, your hand will come down and you'll wake up. So let's start with being aware of the connection points, the touch points. And just noticing the sensations in your body. Noticing the sensations of your feet or your legs touching the floor or touching the chair. Noticing the sensations of your bottom on the cushion or on the seat. Noticing the sensations of your hands resting in your lap. What does that feel like on your hands where they're in contact with your legs? What does that feel like on your legs where they're in contact with your hands? Noticing the sensations of the ambient temperature in the room. And whatever else you notice about whatever sensations of whatever you feel in your body at this moment. And let's take a few slow, deep breaths just to help us get connected to the body, to the present moment. Noticing the sensations of breathing in, whatever that looks like for you. Long, slow, deep breath. About three quarters. Noticing the sensations of the out breath all the way down to the end. And as you exhale, just begin the process to whatever degree you can, of relaxing and softening, relaxing the muscles in your face and around your eyes, and letting your breathing return to normal. And we're just continuing to notice on the exhale the state of your body in this moment. And on the exhale, continue with relaxing your shoulders. Some people hold them kind of tighten up a little bit, just let them drop. Receiving the in breath and noticing what that feels like. And continuing to let go and soften. Relax your belly and let it hang. We don't need to hold in our belly like we sometimes do walking around in the world. Just letting it expand and contract as we breathe. Letting our leg muscles relax to whatever degree we can, just noticing. Noticing anywhere in your body where you might be experiencing tension or holding. And now bringing your awareness to the sensations of the body breathing. And just focusing there, resting your awareness on the breath. Some people do this by focusing on the sensations of the air moving in and out of the nose, with cooler sensations of air moving in on the in breath, slightly warmer sensations of air moving out on the exhale. Some people focus on the sensations of the chest or the belly, expanding and contracting. And for some people, it's easier to focus on the overall global sensations of the body breathing. Whatever works for you. Whatever's easy. Noticing whether a breath is long or short. We're not trying to do anything with the breathing or control it. We're just accompanying it with our awareness. Noticing the rhythm of breathing in and breathing out. Noticing the sensation at the top of the in breath as your body transitions to an out breath. And following that all the way down to the end as your chest contracts and your body relaxes a little more. Noticing the sensations on the end of the exhale as your body transitions to an inhale. Mind wanders off in thought. It's okay, it's supposed to do that. That's what it does. The lungs breathe, the heart beats, the mind thinks. It's all good. And when you notice, just gently, compassionately slide your attention back to the breath. mind wanders off in thought because that's what it does by nature. It's all good. Just when you notice, however many times, gently, compassionately, slide your attention back to your breathing. And as we come to the end of this sitting, I invite you to notice whatever your body feels like in this moment. And decide that it's okay, whatever it is, even if it feels difficult. And notice any feelings that may be attached to that, and thoughts that might swirl around. Any preconceived notions of how this was supposed to go compared to how it went. What that feels like. And with all of that together, I invite you to rest in kindness and compassion toward yourself. And may it be that this practice enables us to move through the world around us with kindness and compassion, especially in the waves of whatever tension, drama may come towards us, to view the world through kind eyes and meet the world with a compassionate heart. And may it be that this practice enables us to bring kindness and compassion into our households and our interactions there, our interactions in the community with the people we spend time with the people we momentarily encounter, the checkout person at the grocery store, somebody who make random eye contact with on the street. Just walking with kindness and compassion. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice, and welcome again. For those on Zoom, I put the usual information in the Zoom chat, how to find these sessions um, in their various locations, how to get in touch with me, my website, my email address, um, a link to a donation if you feel so moved. That's not a request or a requirement. It's just there. So, today we're going to begin our exploration of the four foundations of mindfulness. When Buddha first taught mindfulness, he laid out these four elements to focus on that would bring us to relief from suffering. And they are mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind or thinking, or mindfulness of what's been translated into objects of mind. And we'll get into that a little later. Seems straightforward enough. Don't be fooled, it's a little tricky. Requires some effort and some concentration and some practice. So we'll start with mindfulness of the body. The mind, the thinking mind, can wander. It's a TARDIS for those of you who are into Doctor Who. It can go anywhere in time and space. It can take us back to a conversation we had yesterday and actually play it out to a different outcome. It takes us off till tomorrow with like planning and thinking and whatever. Um, I used to work in top 40 radio in the 70s. It takes me back to that sometimes. But if we're, awakening takes place in the present moment. And the body is a physical object, unlike the mind. The body is always here in the present moment. It cannot escape the present moment. So we start with mindfulness of the body because it brings us here to now. And we begin with awareness of the breath, which is the meditation practice. But we can stop and pause and be aware of our breathing at any time and stay with it. Sounds simple enough. Not so much. As soon as we go there to, mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the breathing, the mind immediately rebels and throws all manner of distractions, fantasies, memories, plans, whatever my neuroses is of the moment, which is different from time to time. It turns out that we are only like nominally in charge of our psychological life. So we keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back to our bodies. That's part of the wisdom of the 12 steps, keep coming back. And we get momentary phases of consciousness separated by large gulfs of unawareness, where we're on autopilot or sleepwalking, and then we become aware again. And the more we practice mindfulness, the more we practice this meditation, the longer those periods of awareness get, and it becomes easier to recognize when we are out of our body and into our grocery shopping tomorrow. So we practice. And the reason why they call us a practice, the reason why in the 12 steps they say practice these principles, we practice meditation. And the first step in this sort of practice of mindfulness of the body, and what is my experience of the body? What is my experience of the body while I'm meditating? Okay, I have a very persistent itch right back here this morning. Don't know where that came from. I'm aware of it. And then my mind says, I'm meditating in front of people. You can't see me do anything about that. Just like, divorced from reality. And then there's all kinds of constructions that my mind starts to go around with that before I eventually notice that I have gone off into wherever it is I've gone off to. Take a deep breath. Come back to my body. I'm in the present moment where actually nothing is happening. I mean, I'm having all of these constructions in my head, but nothing is actually happening right now. And the first step towards working with this is a radical self acceptance. I can't tell you the number of people who've come to me or said to me, I'm not doing it right, or I'm not okay with this. And the thing about meditation practice and mindfulness of the body is you can't do it wrong. The doing it is the doing it. And we're going to talk a little bit about objects of mind and where those sorts of things come from in a minute. But this kind of radical acceptance, radical self acceptance of whatever our experience is in the moment, having our own permission to be with whatever is happening to us right now, which brings us to the next foundation, which is mindfulness of feelings, emotional states. We live in a culture that identifies good feelings, bad feelings, right? How many of you have experienced that? The truth is that there are no good feelings or bad feelings. They're just difficult or easy. Feelings fall into three categories: pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Or as one friend of mine says, pleasant, unpleasant, and heh. And the point of mindfulness of feelings is first to look at what is the tone of this, not the feeling itself, because we'll get to that in a second. The feeling tone, is it pleasant? Is it unpleasant? Is it leading to tension? Is it leading to a relaxed state? In the Buddhist language, is it wholesome or is it unwholesome? Is it destructive or is it nurturing? Now, we can feel whatever comes, and we're going to. Okay? I feel joy, I feel love, I feel inclusive, wonderful. I feel hatred, I feel angry, I feel envy. Ugh. The point is not to cling to any of it or be averse to it. If I'm experiencing a difficult emotional state, if I am, one of the ones I just mentioned, I don't reject it because that's rejecting me. That's a part of myself. I simply recognize it for what it is. I'm experiencing this feeling without reproach, without denial, without negative self judgment, as something that's being incompatible with being spiritual, whatever that is. We don't act on our feelings, we simply bow to them. I don't know if you hear that is. And there's very little new at this point in my life. I've felt that before. And I'm a total groupie for teachers. I really am. When it's a Buddhist teacher is coming to town or anything along that ilk, I will go. And Ajahn Sundra is, she is the senior teacher and abbot and of the Cambridge Monastery in England. And she came through California when I was living near Gilfontaine Sangha, and the word got out that she was willing to do meetings with people, and I was like, sign me up for that. And I was talking about my emotional experience and things that were happening with me, and she reminded me of the story of Mara, the god of illusion who tried to stop Buddha's awakening. And Mara is simply all the aspects of ourselves and our lives that we prefer to keep in the shadow. And she reminded me what Buddha said when Buddha encountered Mara, which is, I see you, Mara. Let's have tea. So he met these aspects of himself with compassion, and I'm suggesting you do the same. When you're feeling angry, when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling envious or whatever, I see you. Let's have tea. Not, I see you, and I'm going to slap you in the face and pretend you don't exist and now try to get rid of you. We've all been there, we've all done that. There are no unacceptable feelings. Feelings don't make karma. The literal definition of karma is action or volition. And it's important to keep in mind that all things are impermanent, especially states of mind, especially feelings. How many times over the course of this week have you felt agitated? You don't have to calculate that. But how many times has it passed? Every single time. How many times did you prolong the suffering or agitation with a negative self judgment of I shouldn't feel this way? We do that all the time. the feeling is going to pass anyway. It's just a question of whether we add another layer on top of it. It's like, okay, I'm feeling angry. And then I say I shouldn't feel that way. Now I'm feeling ashamed of feeling angry. Then I say, but I'm the guy who's always teaching self acceptance. So now I'm feeling guilty about being ashamed about being angry. Now I'm like, well, this is just sad. I'm totally inadequate. So now I'm feeling sad and inadequate about being guilty about, where does it end? It doesn't end. Come back to the body. The body is in the present moment where nothing is happening. I mean, it's okay. We're brought up to believe that there are acceptable and unacceptable feelings. How many times did a parent say you shouldn't feel that way? I mean, I was brought up in a family where there was a lot of chaos and volatility, and if I showed upsetness with that, I was like, "That's not okay. I'm not allowed to do that." So I brought that into my life, and we'll talk about more about that in a minute. It's all good. It's part of being awake. I got to see the Dalai Lama in Mountain View, California, 7 years ago, and I keep coming back to this because it's an important teaching. And it was 3 days of teaching. Amazing. You can't be exposed to this man and not have something happen to you. And on the third day, someone said, "What about anger and frustration?" And he just like shrugged. I experienced that. That's all he did with it. It's like, yeah, it's part of life. When I saw a documentary on him a few years ago, I can't do the accent really well. He goes, "Sometimes I get short with people. Then we move on." It's just these are the part of the things that come and go. Some years ago, many years ago, when I was first on this journey, and I was also in my first internship at a sexual abuse clinic in California. I went to a Zen sitting, and there was somebody else in the sitting who I knew from the clinic who was struggling and having very intense experience of that part of his awakening. And he asked the teacher, "What do I do with these feelings?" The teacher gave the best answer I ever heard. He said, "Welcome them, be kind to them, treat them as honored guests, and eventually they will leave. All things are impermanent, especially states of mind." Which brings me to mindfulness of the mind. As we start to settle, we see how we are conditioned for habitual responses and reactions, and we start to make better choices. We wonder what are the origins of this conditioning? How did I learn to look at the world this way? And the theory of psychosynthesis. We're going through our lives, starting out as little bambinos or bambinas, and there's a wound of some sort. We're abandoned. Our parents don't see us. They hurt us. They're alcoholics, whatever, a wound of some sort. And because we don't have the wherewithal to take that in and process it, we surround it with a protective layer of thoughts, feelings, and views of ourselves in the world. And then we continue going through, into our childhood and whatever, and we continue doing this up until into our adulthood. There's another wound, and we can't take that in either, for whatever reason. So again, we surrounded ourselves with a protective layer of thoughts, feelings, concepts of the world, and concepts of ourselves. This is the origin of conditioning. Flash forward some years later, and I have to decide whether I want to be that guy. This is the sixth and seventh step of Alcoholics Anonymous. Here's an example. I grew up in a very chaotic and violent environment, and I learned not to trust people. I learned certainly not to trust anyone who says, "I love you." And I had this habit of ghosting people. If you pushed a button that somewhere internally made you look like either my abusive parents, I got ready. I'm really good at it. I don't return your calls. I don't hang out. You just won't see me again. You won't know what happened. And somewhere along the line in my recovery and in my mindfulness practice, I decided I don't want to be that guy. And when I started investigating that, that's when got the connection between, oh, here's where I learned to do that. And here's where I am now. So, mindfulness of the mind offers us the opportunity to make these sorts of explorations and say, where did I learn to be that way? I mean, of course I did that. We can make choices how we want to be in the world. And sometimes that leads us to an understanding of how we got here. And as we practice mindfulness, one of the things we get in mindfulness of the mind is seeing where these internal narratives came from. And then we get to decide whether or not that serves us. Believing our internal narrative as reality is a little dangerous without investigation. Tomorrow, there's a group of people that meet at the community center near here, and they invited me to give a workshop on meditation. How cool is that? I'm kind of excited about it. Here's the thing about that. I've been teaching for a couple of years now, and it's all been on Zoom. I'm sitting alone in this room and with you all in my virtual space. This is the first time I'm going out to do it in front of a bunch of people live. I'm a little nervous about that. What is that about? I'm not sure. But, and I use the word but carefully, it's going to be fine because I've taught this and I've taught this and I've taught this. I love teaching this. This is my passion. It's my thing. It's what I do. If I bring that into the room, it'll all be fine. When I used to coach people who were giving presentations, I say, assume you know what you're doing, go in and have a good time, and everybody else will too. It's not much more complicated than that. But I've got this hamster wheel turning in my head. Right? It's like it says otherwise. And it's fine. It's going to be fine. And the thing to remember about that is something that I heard May Elliott say. She's one of the teachers from Tassajara High in California. The thought is not the thing. I'm thinking about something, but what I'm thinking about, the thought of that thing is not the thing itself. The thought is not the thing. It's just something that I've constructed around the thing. So there's this construction I've made over what might happen tomorrow. Well, I have no idea what might happen tomorrow. It'll be fine. It'll be fun. I'm deciding that now. So the last of the four foundations, mindfulness of objects of mind, which I've just been talking to a little bit. Where did this come from? There's an object of mind that says, this isn't okay. I'm going to bore you all to death this morning. You're all still breathing, right? I'll still see you next week too. Well, right? Um, so I get to look at these things as objects of mind rather than realities that are being reflected back to me. And I get to decide when I'm contemplating objects of mind, does this serve me or does this not serve me? Does this serve my sense of well being or does it serve my anxieties? Both of which are available. In Buddhist terms, they look at the five hindrances versus the seven factors of awakening, which is something I can do weeks on just in among themselves. The five hindrances, the things that make it more difficult for us to focus on our mindfulness practice and to grow with it: desire, aversion, restlessness, sleepiness, and doubt. Am I leaning into some version of that? The seven factors of awakening are mindfulness, investigation, which is what we were just talking about, energy, joy, concentration, and equanimity. That's a lot to swallow. I get it. But the question is, am I leaning into one or am I leaning into the other? Am I letting whatever's going on in my mind, and there's always something going on, divert me to this or that? I had a really great time yesterday. Um, I own a 650 scooter. It's like a small motorcycle without a gear shift. It's automatic. I love it. Twist and go. And I've been looking for a community to get plugged in, and I saw something on Facebook about a bunch of people who called themselves the Usual Suspects Riders Group, and they were doing a ride tomorrow. And I thought, well, I'm just go over there, even though it meant getting out of the house early in the morning, which is something I'm not used to. And I had all this construction going on in my head. They're going to see the scooter. They're not going to like it. They're all Harley guys. I'm not going to be welcome. All this stuff. I'm not a member, even though the thing on Facebook said members and non-members. You know, bring your bike, bring your car, come with us. But I had this whole construction going on, and that was a reflection of another writing group I got involved with some years ago that was very like cliquish and weird, and there was a lot of drama. And I'm like, am I signing up for this? Well, I get over there in the morning, and they were all very nice to me. They're all very kind. They're all very welcoming. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you came out to join us. What is that thing you're writing? They're all on like the car. There's, what is that? Not like, what is that? What is that? Curiosity. So the object of mind was not serving my sense of well-being. What actually happened was I had a lot of fun. Rode an hour and a half out to um, this cafe on a lake somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Florida. Rode back, had a good time. But the object of mind that surfaced suggested something else might happen. So all of these things are practices, and they point to opportunities for self-compassion. You are going to wander out of your body. Of course, you are. The mind just does that. You are going to judge yourself for your feelings because that's an echo from whatever it is we grew up with. We're going to be confused by our own behaviors sometimes and not recognize that these are conditions of the mind that have been conditioned. We're going to lean into and out of states that are wholesome or less. Okay, fine. What we get from this practice, the mindfulness practice, is we become more aware of when we're doing that and how it serves us or disserves us. It's really cool that way. So I invite you to practice the way Pablo Casals practiced the cello. Hours and hours every single day. And someone said, "You're the master. Why do you practice like that?" He said, "I might be learning it." Y'all know who Eric Clapton is? Practices hours and hours every day. So I invite you to practice. And I invite you to practice being kind and compassionate with yourself, with whatever comes up. Thank you for your kind attention. Any comments, questions? Ken, go back to being a cab driver?
Can you just take a second and help me differentiate between the third and fourth items that you talked about, the mindfulness and the object?
Um, it's a thin line.
Okay.
The object, the teaching about objects of mind is really about recognizing where the third foundation is taking us. Mindfulness of the mind, what is bubbling up, right? Thoughts,
Okay.
feelings, whatever. Mindfulness of objects of the mind is when we get to step back and look at that and say, how does that serve me or disserve me? Is that helpful?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been known to spout all kinds of verbiage that is not actually clarifying anything, so I like to ask. Thich Nhat Hanh's book on the four foundations of mindfulness is actually really, really good. Um, I mean, there are thousands and thousands of words written on this. And I can kind of meet you with that question because the fourth foundation, objects of mind, was very confusing to me for some period of time. And I was still working on understanding it even yesterday as I was preparing this talk. So there are, Buddhism is the great debate society. So there are endless debates about what this stuff means. And what that suggests to me is I can choose what's easy to understand for me and takes me somewhere that nurtures me. All good. Anybody else? Okay. You can do a deep dive into any one of these things individually, which is what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks, with an emphasis on how we can use this particular set of teachings when we feel challenged. Um, and I hope you all will join me on that adventure, and I hope you all find it useful. So,
Thanks, Ken. I'm going to be in Louisiana next week for a conference, but I hope I'll be able to join you using my cell phone. We'll see if that works or not.
yeah, I know people can do that.
Technology is.
Send me some really good Creole. Just have it freeze dried, shipped it off to me.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying, I'm nervous about going to this conference after so many years where, because of COVID, we weren't meeting, and I'm getting all my business suits and makeup and shoes ready, and I'm like, and as I'm doing that, I'm feeling guilty. I'm like, I shouldn't be focused so much on all this stuff and how I look and worried about how people there will think of me. And like
That's really what I mean by that's a
It's
perfect
like
example of object of mind.
Yeah.
That doesn't, I'm going to take a guess here and say that thought train does not serve your overall sense of well-being.
No.
No, of course not. It's just something that the mind is doing. And somewhere along the line, you learned to have that response to future events. It's not really a response because it hasn't happened yet. We can only respond to things that have actually happened. Somewhere along the line, you learn that self-concept is something you need to worry about. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to go to Louisiana, bon temps, et toi. You're going to have a great time. And you're going to come back and tell us all how great it was. And then you're going to be able to step out of being ashamed of the fantasy you had, that it was going to be terrible, because we do that to ourselves also, and laugh at it. You can't see it here. I've got a poster in two smiling happy monks. It's Han Shan and Site from the 7th century. And they are laughing hysterically at all of this stuff that we're just talking about all this stuff that we do to ourselves. So it's just an object of the mind, blow it off. And when you can't, just be compassionate and laugh and blow it off again.
Yeah, it is funny because I'm like, I never pay attention to what shoes people are wearing. Why would I care what shoes I'm wearing? But it's funny when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. Saturday Night Live just did a
Yeah.
really funny thing on the whole Oscar red carpet thing. When the only thing where the camera showed only people's shoes as they walked by and commented on that. So
Thanks, Ken. I'll have to look that one.
See you all next week. Be good to yourselves.